Alright everybody, what's going on? It's Tagoar here, keeping it tanky in Raid Shadow Legends, and today I'm going to give you a 2-for-1 special. As far as this video is concerned, I could have split this up into 2 videos, but I decided, what the heck, I'll just leave it as one, and we are going to talk about 5 PvE nukers that I think are absolutely crucial push late game content. And then after we are done with that, I'm going to show you the Phantom Shogun 25 team that does it consistently at around a minute. So be sure to stay tuned for that, because that is going to be useful for the Gear Ascension tournament to get the Prism Crystal for the summoning pool. So starting off at number 5, we are going to talk about one of my favorite login champs that they released a while back, Rathalos Blademaster. He does a lot of work if you were able to get your hands on him during the Monster Hunter World event. If you are not, I'm sorry, because you are missing out.
Listen up, guys. You can get Elenaril for free, as well as Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar as you level up. Just click my link in the description. Here's the steps to go about getting yours. Log out of Plarium Play on PC and uninstall. This will not work on mobile unless you are downloading it for the first time. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get Elenaril for free, as well as 3 free epics. Just click my link in the description and enjoy this wonderful start to Raid.
On the A1, he attacks one enemy, has a 65% chance of placing drop defense for 2 turns. If the target is a boss, this debuff cannot be resisted. This guy is all about slaying bosses. On the A2, attacks one enemy. Every second use of this skill in a round will attack all enemies instead. Will also ignore 25% of the target's defense. If the target is a boss, will ignore 100% of the target's defense instead. Very strong skill, especially when we get to the passive. This skill gets really good if you time it right. On the A3, it's an AoE. Before attacking, places increased crit damage and increased speed on this champion for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. And then on the passive, inflicts 50% more and receives 25% less damage when the target is under HP burn. And then every 5th skill used by this champion deals 200% more damage. So if you can line up this 5th skill with a second use of this Spirit Step Slash, the damage is insane. Especially if you can get them under burn. The only thing I wish is that Rathalos carried burn in his kit. I think if they had thrown AoE burn on this A3, that he would have been like the perfect PvE nuker. He's still really good, just not quite as good as he used to be. Okay, so that's number 5. Coming in at number 4, we are going to have probably a hot take here, but Trunda. I am putting in Trunda at number 4 simply because, as far as PvE is concerned, I've only ever seen her used in one area, and that is Hydra. Not to say that that is bad. She is, I mean, obviously in Hydra, that's her claim to fame, and she is like an unstoppable force in Hydra. So that's not a knock on her at all. She's just not as splashable as some of the other damage dealers that we are going to talk about today, especially the top 2 slots. The top 2 slots are just kind of always an option. On the A1, attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 60% chance of placing a stun for 1 turn. Stun, not very useful for PvE outside of wave content, or taking advantage of effects that occur when you don't place a debuff. On the A2, attacks one enemy, then attacks all other enemies with a second hit, dealing 60% of the damage inflicted from the first and ignoring 50% of the target's defense. Only the second hit of this skill ignores 50% of the target's defense, and the second hit is always normal. This skill is so strong, it's flat out busted in Hydra. That Cloak of Ages is what makes her so good as far as PvE is concerned, because it can just do stupid amounts of damage. Combine that with some reset champions, and I'm sure some other roles, and that's how you build a Trunda team that just, I fear for the day that I have a good enough clan where we go up against Hydra Clash with multiple Trying to teams. On the A3, attacks all enemies, has a 70% chance of placing stun for 1 turn, also places HP burn for 2 turns. Places an extra hit on enemies not under stuns. Both hits of this skill deal 50% more damage to a stone skin shield. So now, not only is she good for PvE, but she also has a use case for PvP by blowing up stone skin. Throw her in cracking roots or incinerate, and yeah, she's just gonna melt face in arena. Not to mention, again, Hydra. Although neither of those blessings that I mentioned will take effect in Hydra. Then on the passive, this champion's attack increases by 10% for each stun or HP burn debuff this champion places on enemies, stacks up to 25%. This champion's speed increases by 5 for each enemy currently under HP burn or stun. Only counts active HP burns or stun. Stacks up to 15. So now she's got Nature's Wrath plus speed ramping. Pair her with someone a bit more consistent, like an Artak, say, and yeah, she's just gonna go faster and do more damage. Attacking all battles by 36% as well. Alright, and now moving on to the top 3. Coming in at the number 3 spot, we are gonna have Thor Fayhammer coming in for PvE damage dealers. Again, this guy starts off kind of as a Hydra champion, but if you build him correctly, he will serve you in far more places than just that. On the A1, he attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 20% chance of repeating the attack. This has no upper limit. If the RNG stacks up right, he could hit for 3, 5, 10, you name it. There is no upper limit to how many times this skill can hit outside of RNG. Each hit decreases the target's turn meter by 10%. On the A2, attacks all enemies. After hitting the initially selected enemy, all other enemies will be hit in a random order. Each subsequent hit following the initial one will increase the damage inflicted by 25%, stacking up to 100. Will ignore block damage and unkillable. This effect does not work against bosses. That's fine, because I can't think of very many bosses who have unkillable or block damage. That is on a 3-turn cooldown. This skill hits hard. Basically, you select the target that you want to kill the least, and then just watch everybody die around it. Or you select the lowest HP target and just watch them all die. It hits so hard, and even though he is a PvE champion primarily, he can put in a crap ton of work in the arena as well. And then on the A3, attacks all enemies before attacking, places increased attack and crit damage on this champion for 2 turns. Has a 100% chance of permanently decreasing the resistance of each enemy by 10%, stacking up to 50%. Also has a 100% chance of placing decreased speed on all enemies for 2 turns. That is also on a 3-turn cooldown, gives himself some really good buffs, and then makes it easier for the entire team to place debuffs on the enemy. That's really good for like Frost Spider and other high resistance enemies. Iron Twins, even though he got nerfed, can still be annoying to place debuffs on. And then on the passive, Sky Rupture. Every time this champion deals damage, increases the thunder counter by 1, stacks up to 10 times. This is not a visible counter. You will have to track this in your head. But it's really strong. Each thunder stack increases this champion's crit damage by 3%, stacking up to 30. Once the thunder counter reaches 10, attacks all enemies and places a stun debuff for 1 turn. After the attack, the thunder counter resets to 0. This is a really strong move for wave clearing content, like Doom Tower. Doom Tower waves can be kind of annoying because you don't want to waste all your time beating on the waves. Thor will fix that because he's got an AoE on the A2, an AoE on the A3. There's 5 on each wave, so then he's going to come into the 3rd wave, and that Sky Rupture proc is going to occur. He's going to have the 10 stack. It will save it from previous rounds. So he will immediately come into the 3rd, get a turn, Sky Rupture, and there goes the 3rd wave. It does that much damage. He's just that good. Thor Fayhammer, definitely deserving of the number 3 spot. Coming in at number 2, we got the good old Ninja. Ninja is such a powerhouse in PvE, and he gets even better if you pair him with Lady Mikage. Even without her, he is still so good. Usable in any boss fight, and can even be thrown into wave-based content for his A3 that we will get to here in a moment. On the A1, attacks one enemy, has a 60% chance of placing drop defense for 2 turns, also fills this champion's turn meter by 15% when used against bosses. So there you go, you bring him into a boss fight, every time he counterattacks, ally attacks, or just uses an A1, 15% turn meter, that stacks up really quickly over the course of a battle. The A2 attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 100% chance when booked of placing HP burn for 3 turns, also places Perfect Veil on this champion for 2 turns, meaning he can't be targeted unless by AoE skills, in which case he's not targeted, he's just being guilty by association at that point, but that also gives him damage mitigation. When used against bosses, instantly activates any HP burn debuffs, including HP burn debuffs placed by this skill. So you can pair him with another burner if you want. I don't recommend Geomancer, but he's perfectly capable by himself of unleashing a massive amount of damage with this skill. On the A3, attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance of placing a freeze. So that's where he comes in clutch, even on wave-based content, because that move hits hard, as well as the fact that it can just crowd control to make it easier to melt them. And then when targeting a boss, only it targets the boss, it becomes a single hit skill that will ignore 50% of the target's defense. Will also decrease the cooldown of Hail Burn by 1 turn. So suddenly, this 3 turn becomes a 2 turn, and that's available every 4 turns. Throw this guy in Relentless, 9-piece Merciless, or any of the cooldown reduction sets, and he's just going to keep going and going and going. And that synergizes so well with the passive, increases Ninja's attack by 10% and crit damage by 5%, stacking up to 125% each time an enemy is hit by all 3 of Ninja's active skills in a round. This effect can occur multiple times against the same enemy. When fighting a boss, he ramps twice as quickly. So literally you cycle through your skills 3 times and he is going to be doing 100% additional attack and 25% additional crit damage. The amount of stats he ramps is insane, which means the amount of damage that he ramps is insane. It is worth noting that if he dies, this will reset. Now, coming in at the number 1 spot, to I think no one's surprise, and a little bit of foreshadowing for our Shogun team, it is going to be Newt. The man, the myth, the legend himself. Excuse me, the dwarf, the myth, the legend. No humans here. On the A1, triple hitter. Each hit has a 100% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15%. If the target's turn meter is not decreased, each hit will place a freeze on the target for 1 turn instead. He is defense based, so he is going to hit hard while being tanky as all get out. Decrease turn meter and freeze. Obviously, that is known for being used in Fire Knight to counter both normal and hard mode difficulty, but it is also serviceable in any wave-based content where you are going to be beating the living daylights out of some. On the A2, attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance of placing decrease attack and weaken on all enemies for 2 turns. Very nice debuffs for any PvE content, especially higher difficulty. Also places counterattack on this champion for 2 turns. Easy way to get freezes because the enemy is going to attack you. They're going to have 0 turn meter unless they have some kind of turn meter fill mechanic, which isn't all that common in PvE. So now he's going to be coming in and dropping your turn meter to 0, which means it can't be reduced anymore, which means freezes are going to get landed. And then the big boy, Blessed Bash, triple hitter on the A3. Each hit decreases the target's defense by 3%, stacking up to 30. Each hit also heals this champion by 30% of the damage inflicted. It's a enemy max HP skill that is so good. It hits really hard. The only issue he has is affinity. If he were void, he would just be an absolute monster. There would be no competing with this man. And then the passive, when counterattacking, deals 100% damage instead of 75. I cannot express to you how good Newt is. He fits anywhere and everywhere and is the only champion that I consider bringing regardless of affinity. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to find somebody that's affinity friendly. Not Newt. The only way you are overlooking his competency because of affinity is if you have Merit. That's the only reason. Even if you have Acrizia, I'm still probably going to go for Newt. So there we go. That's the top 5 PvE nukers in my opinion. So now on to Phantom Shogun, where we are going to showcase him beating the living daylights on a bad affinity stage. Here's the team, guys. Yes, it has a Void Legendary. Yes, it has 2 Newts, but it has 2 rares as well. So, you know, I call that a little bit of a balance. We got Gnarlhorn coming in here, placing Unkillable on himself on a 3-turn cooldown, as well as just beating on him. Make sure you give him War Master so that way you get some free damage. You want the free damage from War Master. The stats he has today are 75k HP, 3.5k defense, 174 speed. He is speed tuned for this instance. Emic we have set up to do his A3 first, putting out the Unkillable on everyone, as well as the Taunt and Shield. And then set up to go second with his Reset skill with Shield and AoE damage. We have him coming in at 99.5k HP, 3.5k defense, 271 speed, and 430 resistance. Very strong champion. Love having the extra cooldown reset as well as the AoE Unkillable. Makes it a lot easier to run this team. And then the Newts are just set to use their Blessed Bash first as priority. The Newts are not speed tuned. They just work. But we are coming in on Newt number 1 with 56k HP, 5k defense, 268 speed, 261 crit damage, and 448 accuracy. Newt number 2 is coming in with 51k HP, 5.1k defense, 264 speed, 245 crit damage, and 224 accuracy. Then finally we have Painkeeper, only worried about decreasing ally cooldowns with that A3. Otherwise, again, you could risk going with Giant Slayer because she has a multi-hit A1, but overall you're just going to want the War Master for the extra damage. And then if you get a blessing on her, Phantom Touch. I have Miracle Heal on her because she does have a heal on the A2, but that's because of Iron Twins. If you're just using her for this team, go for Phantom Touch so that way you can get some more damage. She is coming in at 80k HP, 2.6k defense, well, call it 2.7, 250 speed, and 437 resistance. Alright, there's the team. Let's show it off here. This team can get a lot of points. The run that I did before this video recording came in and got me 300 points on this stage. Look at that. Even with a weak hit thrown in there, the boss is already over halfway to dying. What's not to love about Newt, man? I mean, realistically, what is not to love about Newt? Look at that. We just set a new best time, 25 seconds, and got 100 points for 40 energy. Come on. I mean, how are you gonna hate on? That's like 2.5 times return on energy investment, and that's not even the most points we can get. We're gonna run it again since that was so fast, so that way you guys can see what goes on. Emic comes in first, then the Newt comes in with his Blessed Bash. Look at all that damage. Then we get the reset from the Painkeeper, an additional Unkillable from Gnarlhorn, and then Fury of the King. Gotta have those counterattacks. Not that they really matter in Phantom Shogun, but yeah. There we go. 36 seconds. So he did in a minute, 2 runs, 185 points that time. How can you not love this team? Each Newt coming in with about 1.4 to 1.5k or 1.5 million, damage. Everybody else there just to keep them alive, to protect them through the enfeebles and block passive skills. Guys, that concludes my video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I know that was more of a whale build, but I hope y'all liked it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I will see you all in a future video. Stay happy and healthy, and stay tanky.